I'm here today with the lovely Sanne from Books and Quills, whose channel I will obviously link in the down bar. And in honour of Valentine's Day, although this is a few days late, we are going to tell you our favourite literary friendships, because I think, you know, there's a lot of relationships in your life. A lot of people are talking about their favourite romances at the moment, but I thought it would be nice to talk about our favourite friendships in books. This is just a book that I talk about all the time, and it is the relationship between Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes. And I think, like, whether you do or don't believe that there's some sort of romance there, I still think they're an amazing role model for a friendship. They're so loyal and they're so different from one another, yet they still, like,
drive each other up the wall, but
yeah,
still,
exactly. They're like, it's a good example of, like, you know, you don't have to have everything common and always get on. And, like, obviously Sherlock does some insane things that Dr. Watson is like, what are you doing? But they're always there for one another. They are kind of the epitome of best friends.
So for me, The Hunger Games has a lot of really great friendships. And I think Katniss, and with a lot of the adults, so Katniss and Effie, and Katniss and Cinna, and Katniss and Haymitch are all really good examples of interesting relationships that maybe didn't start out right and then sort of got better, or started out like really well. I just love Cinna and Katniss,
it's
especially.
Nice to have these like cross-age friendships as well, because you don't have to, like, all your friends don't have to be like within the same like 3-year scope as you.
Yeah, exactly. And like they learn from each other, and I feel Katniss becomes a better person and is helped a lot by most of these people.
The next one is one that I enjoy because it's almost a romance, but it's not, and it's Eragon and Arya. And I like it because even though Eragon does develop feelings for her, it doesn't get in the way of their friendship. They can still maintain a good, like, male-female friendship. They're still very supportive to one another, and I don't know, I like that even though there's maybe the potential for something there, even though she's dealing with like a past love, he never pressures her into like taking it further. He appreciates her as a friend and is happy with that if that's all he's going to have.
Then I have Artemis Fowl, and there's this friendship in here between a elf fairy called Holly. She works for like the special police forces underground, and she has to deal with this really annoying 12-year-old millionaire genius. At first starts out by kidnapping her, and then as the books continue, they develop this really interesting friendship where they kind of hate each other, but they kind of grow fond of each other as Artemis grows up and Holly gets to know him better, and their friendship is absolutely lovely. There is one of the books in the series where they erase someone's memory and then still the friendship comes back.
Yeah.
I haven't read until the very end of the series, but I always loved their sort of weird relationship that started off totally on the wrong foot. But Holly finds it hard to make friends, I think. She's sort of on her own. She's like the only female agent.
Yeah.
And she like is constantly being attacked from all these different people and trying to prove herself. And Artemis doesn't really have any friends. He just has servants. Basically, they find friendship in each other in like a really weird way, but I really like it.
This is actually the sequel to Vivian versus the Apocalypse, and this book was actually recommended to me by Sanne. And actually one of the main things you said about it was that you enjoyed the female friendship in it, and it's about this girl, Vivian, and the apocalypse has happened. There's been like a rapture, people were part of a cult and they've all disappeared, and her and her friend are part of the population that are left behind, and they go on a road trip. And they're great because they're both finding it very difficult in this new apocalyptic world to deal with everything, and they're very supportive. They're willing to tell each other, you know, you need to buck up your ideas, but also even when maybe one or the other gets tempted by like a romantic relationship, they're always there for the other one. If one's like, we need to go now, it's like, okay, well, you know, I'll pack my stuff and I'm coming. And it's nice to have a positive female relationship that's not like your competition. It's like, we are just, you know, good friends.
My next one is from Crusading Jeans by J.A. Beckman, and it's about a boy who gets sent back in time. It was written in like the 80s. This boy's 16 years old, he ends up in the Middle Ages, and because he does something wrong, he is stuck in the Middle Ages, but he has this 1-hour window where he thinks he's still going to be able to come back, and because that's how long he was going to be back in time. And he meets this student from Italy, and because they both speak different languages, they can't really communicate, and then they find a way to sort of communicate through mathematics, and so they bond over that. And then because the boy finds this student because he was being attacked by robbers, and he saves him, and so that's how the relationship starts off. And then when he is stuck in time, he doesn't know what to do, so he decides to tag along with this student who is following a children's crusade to help out the kids. And so they kind of stick together, and they're really good friends for each other. They're a lovely relationship together that they left out of the film. They replaced a younger girl he takes care of and the student with a girl his age that he's attracted to.
Of course they did. The next one, pretty much one reason that I think this is an excellent friendship, and it's from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and it is Ford and Arthur. And I mean, Ford rescues Arthur from the world being blown up, and I'm like, really,
and he didn't have to.
Yeah,
there was no reason for him to do it.
He didn't have to. He met this human man that was a different race from him, really liked him, world was ending, he's like, right, I'm gonna save you, and what more can you ask from your friend, really?
We have Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry and Hermione. Obviously, Harry and Ron get in a bit of a fight throughout this book, and I find it really interesting how sort of Harry has to put up with Hermione in this book, but sort of also appreciates her for being around. Ron and Harry very often find Hermione quite annoying, but I feel like this is sort of the beginning,
like it becoming,
yeah, exactly. And it's, you know, it is, and then finally when Ron is back, I feel like everything sort of comes back to normal. But I always love how Hermione calls Harry out on his shit, and Harry is so aware that they wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff without Hermione.
Yeah, I agree. That would have been one of my favourites as well. I totally agree with that one. The next one I don't have a prop for, but it's the relationship between Asterix and Obelix in the Asterix graphic novel series, and I read most of these graphic novels when I was a child, and I just love the relationship between Asterix and Obelix. Obelix in a way is quite often like Asterix's child. He just needs somebody like a little bit more mature and aware of what's going on to help him. You see in examples of like the story when they get separated, they can't live without one another, and it's lovely.
So I don't have this book, but I have a book by the same author, by Garth Nix, who wrote the Old Kingdom trilogy and then this Clariel, which is a prequel. But my favourite friendship is from the second and third book in the Old Kingdom trilogy. It's a book called Lyriel, and the main character's called Lyriel, and she has this sort of magical dog that she sort of tries to create from charter magic, and then all of a sudden this dog is here. She's called the Disreputable Dog, and is not quite sure where this dog has come from, but the dog seems to have so much knowledge, is quite snarky, and sort of very often disregards sort of rules that Lyriel tries to put on the dog. She's like, stay in this room, and then 10 minutes later the dog's like, hi, I'm here.
Sounds quite similar to Asterix and Obelix relationship.
And so many times she gets rescued by the dog, and it's just her faithful companion at all times. It is a lovely, lovely relationship because she doesn't like talking to people a lot. She's on her own, but she doesn't feel alone because she has the talking dog, I should mention. This
is probably one of the most obvious fictional friendships going, and it is the relationship between Frodo and Sam. Sam is so supportive to Frodo, and obviously Frodo has this like immense quest that he has to go on, and he has this incredibly loyal friend that he would not have been able to do it without, and there's nothing about Sam that feels like jealous that all of the attention's on Frodo, or that he has to support Frodo. He is ready and willing to do it, and you can tell how grateful Frodo is, and I just think this is really lovely. There's no like ulterior motive in their friendship. They are.
My last one is The Maze Runner, and it's the friendship between Thomas and Minho. They're in this maze and they're trying to get out of the maze, and there are the maze runners, and the leader of the maze runners is Minho, and the new boy who comes into the maze or the glade is Thomas, and Thomas is sort of really curious about like what's going on in the maze, and he is kind of like, I want to be a maze runner.
Yeah.
People are just like, what the hell's wrong with you? You're new. Like, you're just being a pain.
Yeah.
But this friendship sort of forms between Minho and Thomas, and I just really liked Minho as a character. Thomas is not as likable, but they spend so much time together running in the maze, and I quite like that relationship.
Maybe you could recommend some of your favourite literary friendships, specifically for adult books, because when I was thinking I thought, well, there's lots of examples of children's books with lovely positive friendships, but I think as soon as romance and like puberty is hit from the characters, it becomes like the main focus, and friendships tend to get left behind. Go check out Sanne's channel, and in the meantime, have a lovely week. Bye guys!
Bye!
Yeah,
Good. That'll be fun.